Fulham Blackburn and Everton Newcastle, just two of the matches featured on the Premiership on Monday in 20 minutes. Before that, here on ITV1, the latest news with Alistair Stewart.
A show of strength as US troops hit the heart of Baghdad. Basra burns now. British forces must stop the looting. And the final answer's guilty for the major who cheated to win $1 million. Good evening. American troops are occupying part of the Iraqi capital Baghdad tonight after another stunning attack. Officially, it was a show of force, but it took tanks and armoured vehicles right into the centre of the city. Advancing along the Tigris River, the Americans went into two of Saddam Hussein's palaces, one serving as his command centre, the other the Al-Sujud, his official home. In Basra, which British troops went into yesterday, another of Saddam's palaces is now home to the Royal Marines. Here's Paul Davis on a day of dramatic coalition advances.
No possible doubt now the battle for Baghdad is underway. American armour stormed into the very heart of Saddam's capital, here attacking an Iraqi military base on the banks of the Tigris. The Iraqi soldiers, apparently taken by surprise, scramble for their lives, seeking shelter in the rushes and in the water. A-10 tank busters provided air support as American soldiers took over hugely significant sites like this, one of Saddam's palaces in the city centre. The complex is opulent, it is spectacular, but the man whose picture adorns so many of its walls is no longer the master here. International journalists based in Baghdad watched the American armour move in. They watched startled Iraqi troops run away, some in their underwear. But incredibly, the Minister of Information insisted their eyes were deceiving them. It was the Americans who faced defeat, he said.
We besieged them and we killed most of them, and I think we will finish them soon.
The pictures tell a different story. Here, an arms dump in an Iraqi army base goes up in flames. Piece by piece, Saddam's regime is losing the military might that kept it in power. The Battle of Baghdad is underway, but it could take many more days. This huge crater in a residential area appears to be the result of a bombing raid this evening. For Baghdad's ordinary citizens, the suffering is not over yet. Iraq's second city, Basra, is free of the old regime tonight, but parts of it are burning. This is the Sheraton Hotel, one of the city's finest. It appears to have been set alight by looters who've been taking advantage of the sudden disappearance of Saddam's army and his police force to steal anything of value. Ships on the city's waterfront have also been looted and set on fire. For the British forces that now control Basra, it's been an extraordinary day. Unopposed, they've rolled through the ornamental gates of Saddam's southern palace. Locked doors only a temporary obstacle. And when something more than sledgehammers was needed, these Royal Marines had another solution. Moving with caution, alert to the risk of ambush or booby traps, they found luxurious fittings, but no opposition. In other parts of Basra, the British were welcomed on the streets. Here, the only confrontation today was a friendly arm wrestling contest. This man took reporters to a prison and showed them the crude tools with which he'd been tortured by Saddam's secret police and the scars they'd left. He is delighted they've gone. And so it seems are these Iraqis who celebrated the departure of the old regime, balancing on the barrel of a British tank. Paul Davis, ITV News.
One of our correspondents in Baghdad, Neil Connery, braved the gunfire today to take a drive through the capital. He came across Iraqi militiamen and got as far as the Al-Sujud palace, finding it apparently abandoned by both sides in the conflict. Here's his report.
Into the heart of Baghdad, a journey into a battlefield. Iraqi troops and militia on street corners, the sound of gunfire never far away. We're trying to get to the presidential palace. We're stopped by militia about a mile away. They are the Iraqi front line in this part of Baghdad. Tell me, what will you do if Americans come here? You will fight for your country?
Yes, and I kill him.
We then head on to what feels like no man's land around the presidential palace. Deserted streets enveloped by fear and dread. No one knows who's in charge here. And then we see the abandoned palace in the middle of the Iraqi capital. This is the nearest we can get to the Al Saud presidential palace here in Baghdad. We understand this is where US forces were this morning, but this afternoon there's little sign of any activity here. How far American forces were from us when we arrived wasn't clear. Al Saud is a vast complex. Across the city, the power base of the president is crumbling. Neil Connery, ITV News, Baghdad.
To some extent, Saddam's palaces came to symbolise his regime. He lavished a fortune on them. We've had a glimpse inside the Al Saud in Baghdad, and today Mark Austin also reported on what he found in the palace in Basra.
I just want to give you a sense of the lavish opulence of this palace. The furniture is long gone, but you can't mistake the extravagance here. Marble flooring absolutely everywhere. Gold trim around all the windows and the doors. Fantastic wood carvings on the ceiling. Intricate, colourful mosaic of cornicing. Just opulence on a grand scale. And this is just one room in one building in these palace grounds. It really is extraordinary. And I'll also show you the bathrooms, just one of many bathrooms in this palace. Marble walls, marble floors, jacuzzi, 2 separate showers, gold plated, the bidet. There's labels on many of the bathroom fittings, so they're obviously very new. This one talks about 24 karat gold plate, made in Spain, which is ironic since Spain is supporting the invasion of this country. But again, huge opulence and just one of a dozen or so bathrooms in this palace. And of course the contrast couldn't be more marked between this and the squalor that lies outside the palace gates. The years of sanctions have done nothing to diminish the lifestyle of Saddam Hussein, while he's managed to reduce his country to poverty.
Tony Blair and the American President George Bush have been discussing the war and what happens when it's over at Hillsborough Castle in Northern Ireland tonight. It's Mr Bush's first visit to the UK since he became president, but his third meeting with Mr Blair in a month. Apart from Iraq, the Northern Ireland peace process and the so-called roadmap to peace between Israel and the Palestinians are to figure in talks tomorrow. The Who Wants to Be a Millionaire trial ended today with guilty verdicts against the 3 people accused of cheating their way to the top prize. Major Charles Ingram, his wife Diana and Tequin Whittock were all given suspended jail sentences but ordered to pay heavy fines and costs. Here's Rachel Harries.
Like the game show it featured, this was a trial that had the nation hooked. And Charles and Diana Ingram had to brave the cameras again today after being found guilty of cheating the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire programme. But unlike the other 21 days of the trial, this was a rather more undignified affair. The couple hatched the bizarre plot with this man, Tequin Whittock, who was also found guilty this afternoon. The scam centred around a code. Mr Whittock would cough whenever the correct answer was read out, signalling to Charles Ingram in the hot seat. It was masterminded by Ingram's wife Diana, but it didn't fool the programme makers, who contacted the police just before broadcast.
This was an attempt to illegally obtain £1 million. In this particular instance, the vehicle for that happened to be a quiz show. I don't think that should have any effect at all on the quality of the investigation.
The judge gave the Ingrams 18-month suspended sentences and a £15,000 fine each. Tequin Whittock received a 12-month suspended jail term and a £10,000 fine. This gamble seemed like a good idea, but it's cost them their reputation. Rachel Harries, ITV News.
And a special tribute was paid tonight to our correspondent Terry Lloyd, who was killed in Iraq just over 2 weeks ago. The explorer David Heppelman-Adams dedicated his latest endurance record to him. Heppelman-Adams has become the first person to walk solo and unsupported to the geomagnetic North Pole. Today he told his UK base, "I'm thrilled to achieve this. I've done it for Terry." And that's it from us. Now, the news from where you are, from your ITV region.
Thanks, Alistair. Good evening. The news now from Meridian. A Hampshire mother has tonight issued a warning to parents over the misuse of drugs. Her 18-year-old daughter was found dead in a Southampton hotel after taking ecstasy. The teenager's mother urged parents to keep on at their children.
Heather Jones often comes to her daughter's bedroom to feel close to the girl who was so cruelly taken from her. 18-year-old Wendy left her home in Southampton for a night out with her boyfriend last month. But during the evening she took an ecstasy tablet, which killed her.
Complete shock. Yeah. No inkling at all that she was taking drugs or anything.
Wendy's body was discovered at the Hotel Ibis in Southampton. Tablets were found in the room. Her family had to learn the shocking truth that their fun-loving daughter had been experimenting with ecstasy and had taken the drug before. Wendy seemed so anti-drug she'd even taken part in a school concert highlighting the dangers. Now her mother wants to warn other parents.
Just keep on at them, really. You know, if they feel, "Oh, Mum, you're badgering me again about drugs," you've got to, really, because as I said, we did occasionally with Wendy, but she still took them. So, I mean, we tried our best, and obviously it wasn't really good enough, really, for her.
Sue Greenfield in Southampton for Meridian News.
A woman from Sussex has been shot in the head with an air rifle. It comes as a gun amnesty across the south enters its second week. Today, police displayed a selection of the weapons surrendered so far.
This is the wound Amanda Greaves has been left with after being shot in Worthing town centre. The pellet embedded itself under her skin, needing surgery this morning to remove it. She welcomes the gun amnesty and wants whoever shot her to hand the air rifle in now.
Extremely lucky because it's less than an inch away from my eye. I'd only had to turn and glanced as whoever it was shooting, and I would have lost an eye.
At the headquarters of Sussex Police in Lewes, a frightening array of weapons has already been collected, a scene mirrored across the south. Peter Robinson in Sussex for Meridian News.
Environmental campaigners are calling for Dorset to declare itself a GM-free county. It follows protests last year over trials of genetically modified crops at a number of farms.
Simon Banfield was one of the government's GM guinea pigs, one of the farmers who last year gave some of his land near Dorchester over as an agricultural laboratory. A year on and he's now singing the praises of genetically modified crops.
These crops are the most investigated agricultural innovation there's ever been. I just feel that it's a technology that's so important we must not ignore. Right. We have to investigate it, and I believe a lot of people's concerns are being allayed, and I think we will, within time, have all the answers.
Despite such optimism, the deep suspicion of and opposition to GM farming remains strong. One county councillor in Dorset has put forward a motion to declare the county GM-free from now on, as has happened in Cornwall. So far, though, it hasn't found support from a majority of his colleagues.
They say that it's not enforceable, but I think what we need to do is send a strong message to government that we don't want GM crops in Dorset.
It's only a matter of months before the trial results are published. Simon Banfield believes GM is the future. Suspicions will be swept aside and public opinion will swing in its favour. Environmentalists believe that whatever the results, the government has already committed itself to GM farming. They believe only county councils which make a stand, non-GM farmers and individual consumers now have the power to stop it. Martin Dowse for Meridian News.
A group set up in the south in support of British troops in the Gulf say their campaign is only just beginning. Hundreds of people have already turned out for a march through Portsmouth.
An outpouring of generosity. Today they were counting spontaneous and unsolicited donations. More than £200 gathered on yesterday's march through Portsmouth. 300 people turned out, flowers were laid at entrances to the naval base to honour the bravery of British troops 5,000 miles distant, risking their lives to take Iraq's southern city of Basra. They're determined that these servicemen and women are not forgotten, determined to counter the anti-war demonstrations that have swept Britain.
It's gone like a little steam train. It's really gathering momentum, and we're hoping to organise another march, maybe in a couple of weeks. Let's just calm down from this one.
In Southampton this afternoon, anti-war protesters occupied inland revenue offices. They claim taxpayers will be faced with a £4 billion bill to pay for the conflict, money that should be spent instead on public services. 5 people were arrested and taken to Southampton Central Police Station. It's scenes like these that make the troops' support group even more determined to step up their efforts. Hugh Kirby in Portsmouth for Meridian News.
Motorists who drive too fast in Hampshire are facing a much bigger chance of being caught. 19 new speed cameras were switched on today across the county. The cameras are all painted bright yellow and are situated in areas prone to accidents. But there's not much chance of a Sussex businessman testing those speed cameras. Guy Viney from Brighton was upset because he was told he couldn't ride his mini scooter without a licence or a helmet. Now, thanks to a legal loophole, he's buzzing in and out of traffic again. All he needed was to add some pedals. That's all the news for Meridian. We'll be back during GMTV from 6:40 tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
Meridian weather sponsored by Sea France. Dover-Calais ferries.
Good evening. We've got a chilly night to come tonight. Clear skies, which does mean temperatures are going to fall away rapidly through the evening and overnight tonight. Between -3 and -4, and we will see a widespread frost. Temperatures along the coast are remaining around +1. It does mean with that chilly start tomorrow morning, we will see plenty of sunshine with very little cloud around. But by mid-morning, some patchy cloud bubbling up. Once again, we've got these easterly winds, making it feel very chilly indeed. Through the afternoon, temperatures will struggle inland. Between around 8 and 9 tomorrow, along the south coast, though, temperatures will rise to 10 Celsius. However, in any good sunny spells, we could see temperatures as high as 11, that's 52. Good night.